With the WINN FM News, I am Kevin Brown.
And I am Yulana Weeks.
Our top stories.
St. Kitts and Nevis contingent prepares for Carry Festa 15.
The Grange Healthcare Facility commemorates 25 years of compassionate care and community dedication. Nubian Greer on People's Action Movement's ties with diaspora. Rising prices and import rules spark debate over affordability of basic goods in St. Lucia. Venezuela condemns U.S. $50 million bounty on Maduro as terrorism disguised as judicial measures. Internationally, United Nations pollution talks. No consensus reached on binding plastic treaty. Now, the details. The St. Kitts and Nevis National Emergency Management Agency NEMA and the St. Kitts Meteorological Services have confirmed that Erin has strengthened into the first hurricane of the 2025 Atlantic hurricane season. Based on projections, the Federation may not experience direct impacts from Erin's core. However, residents are advised to remain prepared for potential tropical storm conditions. NEMA shared the following tips to advise residents on how best to prepare for the possible impending effects.
Tropical cyclones can be very dangerous. Threats from cyclones include high winds, heavy rainfall, storm surge, coastal and inland flooding, and tornadoes. Are you prepared?
Take the time now to prepare before a storm hits.
Here are some steps you could take to be prepared.
1. Gather emergency supplies. The main considerations for your emergency supplies kits are food, water, medicine, and items such as a flashlight, battery-operated radio, and batteries. You can organize these supplies into a go bag.
2. Have an emergency plan. Write down emergency phone numbers, keep them in visible places around the house, save these numbers in your cell phone, and have a plan for getting back together in case your family gets separated from one another during a disaster.
3. Develop an evacuation plan. If the impact of a hurricane puts you at risk, you need an evacuation plan to know which area you will go to, how you will get there, and where you will stay.
4. Plan to shelter safely. If you think your home will not withstand high winds, is in a flood-prone area, or is at risk because of the impact of storm surge, make arrangement to shelter somewhere safer or at a designated shelter.
5. Strengthen your home. Trim back branches from trees, install storm shutters, seal outside wall openings, and take any other action needed to protect your property against wind and water damage.
6. Get an insurance checkup and document your possessions. Call your insurance company or agent and ask for an insurance checkup and take the time to document your possessions.
7. Make arrangements for your pets. Make arrangements for pets and livestock, especially if you have to evacuate. Identify shelters, a pet-friendly temporary living space, or a friend or relative where you can take your pets in the event of an evacuation.
And finally, 8. Stay informed. You can receive alerts and warnings directly from NEMA for all hazards by signing up for the WhatsApp broadcast list or following NEMA on Facebook, Instagram, and X, formerly known as Twitter. Be sure to also monitor local weather reports and news.
Don't wait until it's too late.
This message was brought to you by the National Emergency Management Agency, also known as NEMA.
Thousands of visitors and locals are expected to attend events across Bridgetown, Barbados at the 15th edition of the Caribbean Festival of Arts, Carry Festa 15. On August 14 in St. Kitts, a press briefing was held to focus on Carry Festa 15, confirming funding and support for an official contingent from the Federation to attend. Samal Duggins, minister responsible for the Ministry of Creative Economy, expressed that CariFesta not only celebrates Caribbean heritage, but also serves as a platform to reimagine the region's cultural future. The event is expected to boost cultural tourism and create new opportunities for local artists and entrepreneurs. The St. Kitts and Nevis delegation will include approximately 100 persons. The week-long festival, which runs from August 22 to 31, 2025, aims to showcase the rich diversity of Caribbean culture through music, dance, film, visual arts, fashion, literature, culinary, and wellness, among others. CariFest 15's theme, Caribbean Roots, Global Excellence, highlights the unity in Caribbean culture and the impact that it continues to have globally. St. Kitts and Nevis is included in a list of approximately 25 nations that will attend. In addition to cultural performances, CariFesta 15 will feature a robust schedule of workshops, exhibitions, and panel discussions. The Big Conversations, the symposium, will be part of the celebrations, while the popular Youth Village returns to give creatives a platform to showcase their talents and engage in mentorship programs with established creatives. A standout feature of CariFesta 15 is its commitment to innovation, with planned climate-related initiatives, including a green vendor policy, solar charging stations, and e-waste collection. Barbados is hosting CariFesta for a third time, following previous opportunities in 1981 and 2017. For the event's 15th hosting, Barbados underwent significant development projects, including the Richard Stout Amphitheatre and a 45,000 square foot CariFesta Village and a Grand Market.
The Grange Healthcare Facility, a cornerstone of senior care in St. Kitts and Nevis, proudly marked its 25th anniversary on August 14th, 2025, with a celebration and awards ceremony. The esteemed event was held under the patronage of the Governor-General, Her Excellency Dame Marcella Liebert, highlighting the facility's significant contribution to the nation's healthcare landscape. The commemoration served as a moment to reflect on 2 decades and a half of unwavering commitment to providing high-quality care for the elderly. During her poignant reflections, Pat Richards, leader, shared the remarkable journey of the institution from its nascent stages to its current standing as an international, modern, and fully equipped care unit. She revealed the deeply personal motivation behind her dedication, stemming from a desire to
back to a community that gave birth to me and nurtured me until my early teens, when I was able to go to London and continue my studies.
Richards, leader, recounted how her mother, Anne,
Educated and intelligent laborer,
despite societal limitations, instilled in her the value of education, working 3 jobs to ensure her children's future. This profound upbringing fueled Richards' return to St. Kitts in 1994, armed with the master's thesis on the knowledge and uses of medicine and plants, and a burning desire to document the invaluable oral history of the older folk, a knowledge base she felt was critically underappreciated and underdocumented, leading to the inception of the Grange. Richards detailed the initial challenges, including transforming a complete forest into the picturesque facility seen today and securing a loan from the Development Bank to open the Grange on August 14, 2000, with just 3 residents. She acknowledged the crucial support of individuals like Dr. Mervyn Lawrence, who has been with the facility since its inception, and Sister Elizabeth Woodley, a volunteer who came forward during the early days and continues to assist. The facility's growth was significantly bolstered by a trust fund from the family of the late Father Shamans, which enabled the expansion and creation of the assisted living wing. Richards emphasized the Grange's commitment to non-discrimination, welcoming anyone in need of care, and highlighted recent advancements, including 85% of staff being dementia-trained and the implementation of advanced beds and security measures, all while maintaining that the Grange, though high-functioning, remains a loving home rather than a hospital. The People's Action Movement, PAM, is actively engaging with the Kittitian and Nivisian diaspora, emphasizing their critical role in the political landscape. During a recent press conference, Nubian Greer, PAM's candidate for constituency number 2, highlighted the strong and growing relationship between the party and citizens living abroad, acknowledging their significant influence and voting eligibility. This outreach underscores PAM's strategy to garner widespread support, recognizing the diaspora's deep-rooted connection to the Twin Island Federation. Greer articulated the diaspora's vital connection to the nation.
The diaspora is a part of St. Kitts as it stands, and they are eligible to vote, and they have interest in St. Kitts and Nevis. They have interest in what goes on socially, economically in St. Kitts and Nevis. What we have found that the Labour administration has paid a lot of attention to the diaspora because they know without the diaspora, they have not much support on the ground.
He further noted the diaspora's awareness of local conditions through family connections, which informs their political perspectives. PAM plans to further solidify these connections through direct engagement.
Fortunately for us, the diaspora get feedback from in St. Kitts, and so they know what's going on the ground. They know because they have families here in St. Kitts and Nevis. They know that their families are hurting. They know all the promises that were made and the promises that were not fulfilled. And so they have keen attention, and we have strong communication with the diaspora. And soon, me and the political leader and our team had conversation on visiting the diaspora, having conversation with the diaspora, getting them on board, getting them involved in what we are doing. It's one family at the end of the day. And so our relationship with the diaspora is strong and continue to grow strength by strength, and they understand what is at stake at this point in time. They understand if we don't work together to save our country, no one will. And so, as I said, the relationship is very strong, and we are working together, partnering up to save our country because we can't do it by ourselves.
This proactive approach demonstrates PAM's commitment to a collaborative effort with the diaspora to address the nation's challenges. In regional news, rising prices and import rules spark debate over affordability of basic goods in St. Lucia.
Opposition voices say government-imposed exemptions on imported foods are too narrowly defined to provide real relief. The United Workers' Party claims that the Philip J. Pierre administration's duty-free allowances apply only to small package sizes, such as tuna in cans of 6 ounces or less and cocoa powder in 4-ounce packs, leaving larger, often more cost-effective options still taxed. They argue this penalizes families who buy in bulk to save money, especially when smaller packages are sometimes unavailable in stores. Shoppers, they say, are being forced to either pay more for bigger sizes or leave without essential items.
That is disgraceful that a government, a set of men and women whom we have put to be in charge of the affairs of this country, can sit in a cabinet and can make decisions like this to take advantage of the poor people of this country. That is wickedness at its highest.
Cooking gas prices are another flashpoint. While the government says it is subsidizing LPG, critics contend the subsidies have been reduced, even as the state collects higher revenues from fuel sales. Opposition members also point to customs fees on small shipments from neighboring islands like Martinique, saying it's now costly for residents to receive food and household goods sent by relatives.
Ask anybody who gets a little package from Martinique what is happening to them now. It is held there. They have to go and pay to collect. There's a sick lady, her family sends a little thing for her. They have to pay for the paperwork, and they have to pay fees to collect. People cannot eat in this country.
With schools reopening on September 1st, parents now face another crisis, soaring costs for books and uniforms. This week, the Prime Minister announced that the government will pay $50 towards school fees for over 3,400 students enrolled in privately owned preschools to cover expenses from the first term of the 2024-2025 academic year. The initiative has been dismissed by former banker Marcella Johnson as an election gimmick.
The angle I want you to look at, can $100 feed a preschooler? What is the cost of milk on the shelves?
Towards their tuition.
It's towards their tuition. But before a child can enter school, a child has to be able to eat and survive. Right? You need food in your belly. And how long can that $100 stretch, even if it's paid towards the school bill? So we have to look at the underlying issues.
For many St. Lucians, these changes are hitting at the most basic level, their ability to put food on the table. The UWP accuses the government of using selective price breaks to score political points, while ignoring the everyday struggles of low-income households. For the DBS News World, Manasseh Stanislas reporting.
Venezuela condemns U.S. $50 million bounty on Maduro as terrorism disguised as judicial measures. DBS St. Lucia reports.
Attorney General Pam Bondi announced a $50 million bounty for information leading to the arrest of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro, whom she accused of being a major drug trafficker and threat to U.S. national security. The Embassy of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela in St. Lucia says that the bounty is an act of terrorism disguised as judicial measures and firmly denounces the U.S.'s actions. Ambassador Life Escalona says that Venezuela has strong policies regarding international drug trafficking and has no cartels linked to its government. In August of 2005, the late Venezuelan president Hugo Chavez expelled the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration, DEA, from Venezuela. Chavez stated that the DEA's agents were using anti-drug operations as a cover for espionage and were actively supporting drug trafficking. Since then, Escalona says that statistically, Venezuela has had more success in intercepting and destroying drugs between suppliers in South America and the consumers in the U.S.
They didn't do nothing real ones. When we started with our process, with our intelligence force, we could prevent the trafficking. We demonstrate how many cocaine we are destroying in different places. We dismantle many things, any planes they cannot go by plane in our country, by road, by sea.
Escalona highlighted a case last week when Minister of People's Power for Interior Relations, Justice and Peace, Diosdado Cabello, led an operation that resulted in several arrests and the seizure of an alarming number of explosives.
Last week, Venezuela's security and intelligence agencies dismantled a terrorist logistic base in the eastern state of Monagas. A major attack aimed at spreading fear, chaos, and death among the population.
Escalona says this terrorist plot, which was foiled by Cabello, was allegedly led by an opposition leader, Maria Corellano Machado. Escalona points out that the timing of the U.S. bounty on Maduro is no coincidence, as it was announced just as this plan was prevented. She also claims that Venezuelan intelligence has linked Machado to U.S. officials. According to her, Venezuela's government and policies do not align with U.S. interests, which has led to these attacks. She suggests that with Venezuela's economy growing, the U.S. is actually interested in the country's natural resources like oil.
This new aggression occurred at a time when Venezuela is recording significant economic progress, achieved despite the coercive measures unilaterally imposed by the United States, misnamed sanctions. We have experienced 17 consecutive quarters of economic growth.
Escalona affirms that Venezuela is committed to protecting its sovereignty and people and safeguarding regional stability against any form of terrorism. For the DBS News World, Miriam Montoute reporting.
We now bring you these international reports.
Across the world's oceans, plastic waste is piling up. An estimated 11 million tons flow into the sea every year, breaking down into microplastics found in drinking water, Arctic ice, and even in human blood. For nearly 2 weeks, negotiators in Geneva worked on a treaty to tackle the crisis, from production to disposal. But disagreements on limiting the output of non-recycled plastics resulted in a deadlock.
It's very clear that we did not arrive where we wanted to arrive, but I also believe that everybody came here with the intention to get the deal done.
The draft text fell far short of the ambitions of the European Union and small island nations. They'd pushed hard for strict production caps.
It is tragic and it is deeply disappointing to see some countries that are trying to block an agreement, a treaty that will give us the instruments needed to tackle plastic pollution.
Environmental campaigners accuse petrochemical producing countries of shifting the focus away from reducing production and towards recycling.
There's a few countries, Saudi Arabia, Russia, the United States, that have just been unwilling to negotiate in good faith in this space in these final hours. And as long as they continue to hold their lines as they have from Paris and show an unwillingness for us to actually negotiate, we cannot solve this problem.
Scientists warn that without strict limits, the production of global plastic could triple by 2060, worsening environmental, economic and health impacts. Delegates will reconvene for a final round of talks at an as yet unconfirmed date. Many see it as a final opportunity to secure a treaty that stops plastic pollution at its source before it's too late. Victoria Gatenby, Al Jazeera.
There's a warning today over the risks of going abroad for cosmetic or medical treatment. It's part of an online campaign by the government and TikTok influencers, which aims to give people clear advice before they travel overseas for procedures. Ollie Constable has more details.
I burst into tears. I couldn't believe it for myself. Nothing was symmetrical. Liposuction was done to one side of my body and not the other. The scars are uneven. My belly button's off centre and having flaps of skin where there shouldn't be. And I feel like I actually disliked my body more than when I was overweight.
It was meant to be life-changing surgery for the better. Last year, Leah flew out to Turkey and paid more than £6,000 for a tummy tuck, breast and arm lift after losing lots of weight.
When I was researching weight loss surgery, I would go on apps such as Instagram and TikTok. I saw multiple videos of people going abroad and saying how great it was. And I just trusted them because I thought, well, if they're okay, I'll be okay. And I didn't really pay much attention to the horror stories because I didn't think it would ever happen to me.
But that's exactly what happened. And just when she thought it couldn't get any worse.
I also got sent videos by the company of me on the operating table with a lady in theatre wearing a cardigan and having a watch on her wrist and a hair bubble, putting a tube down my throat because there wasn't correct PPE in the theatres. And as soon as I saw that, my heart sank.
The social media presentation from some of the companies that are coming over here trying to encourage patients to go with them is very glossy. It's packaged up with holidays. It's made to seem as though it's not really an operation when it's actually something quite serious.
Thinking about weight loss surgery abroad, it might seem cheaper, but is it really worth the risk?
Now, the government and TikTok creators are teaming up to offer what they say is clear, reliable advice for people thinking about travelling abroad for medical treatment.
But before you rush into surgery, especially abroad, let's talk about the risks.
There is a growing push for private surgical and dental care abroad. And this is kind of permeated, and we're seeing patients in hospitals, particularly in medical hospitals, coming in with complications. There's no push, definitely from my end, to brandish every hospital or healthcare facility abroad as particularly bad. It's just to be aware that the care across these different countries can be non-standardised.
For Leah, this medical tourism was a price not worth paying.
It does draw you in because when you see the price of a surgery that you really, really want or need, and then it also includes flights, hotel, 5-star treatment, it seems too good to be true. And if it seems too good to be true, it usually is.
Her story shows how this surgery can come at a high cost if things go badly wrong. Ollie Constable, BBC News.
Israeli forces are intensifying their bombardment of Gaza, demolishing densely populated residential areas. Attacks on Friday have killed at least 21 Palestinians. Explosions have been heard in the north of the Strip in the Zaytun neighbourhood of Gaza City. Hundreds of homes have been destroyed there in recent weeks as Israel escalates its military offensive. Israeli forces have also bombed residential areas in southern Gaza, targeting houses near Khan Yunis. The military is attacking the south, even as it tries to force Gaza's entire population there. And yet again, starving Palestinians have been targeted while they try to get something to eat from a site run by the notorious Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. At least one woman was killed and several other people were wounded. The GHF is backed by the US and Israel, and the UN has described its food distribution sites as death traps. Well, Tariq Abu Azoum joins us from Deir al-Balah in central Gaza. Tariq, concentrated attacks on the Zaytun area then?
Yeah, that's right. We are still getting, in fact, Louisa, distressing reports coming from Gaza City suggest that the Israeli military is still actively demolishing residential homes, and their current operation has no sign of slowing so far. Israel has been employing heavy artillery, drones, fighter jets, and have used also extensively over the course of the past few days booby-trapped robots to cause collateral destruction for the civilian infrastructure, as human rights experts suggest that what is taking place in the eastern neighborhoods of Gaza City is a full dismantling of civilian infrastructure and life in a way that is creating some sort of deterrent environment that will ensure people will never be allowed back to these areas. It could be understood as a sign that Israel believes that it has got the winds on its sails, and that's why they are still pushing with implementing their original scheme to control significant portions of Gaza City. We also, Louisa, have got reports from Gaza Civil Defense suggest that there are still dozens of families trapped in Zaytun and in a Sabra neighborhood without being safely evacuated by civil defense members who are banned from reaching these areas, and some of them are taking personal risk to approach these designated red zones in order to respond to emergency calls. It has been a very difficult reality to comprehend taking place in eastern Gaza City, as Israel is practically operating in Gaza City, in particular in 4 out of 13 residential neighborhoods of the entire city, as people on the ground there are reporting on relentless bombardment that continue day and night, shaking the entire ground, leaving everyone with a shattered sense of safety, asking about what might come next if Israel will continue escalating its ground and aerial attacks, and that already battered part of this trip, Louisa.
OK, Tariq, very difficult circumstances there, as always, and also more people being killed as they're trying to get something to eat from the GHF sites, which are run, of course, by Israel and the US.
Disturbingly, yes, we are still getting very devastating reports about repeated and deadly attacks on people who are trying to seek aid near the GHF run aid centres. What we are seeing near these controversial aid centres is not just a collapse or breakdown of humanitarian delivery, it's the absence of full protection for people who are meant to be safe inside humanitarian spaces that have been designed to deliver life-saving supplies. But these aid centres have become killing grounds. The Doctors Without Borders warns that Gaza's aid sites have become laboratories of cruelty, with civilians caught in layers of violence and bureaucratic barriers. It has been very heartbreaking to keep hearing testimonies from people on the ground about how the Israeli military indiscriminately targeting aid seekers near the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. For example, just this morning, Israel killed 3 Palestinians, including 2 children, near the Netzarim corridor while trying to get the hand on food supplies. And all of this comes in time that the UN agencies and over 24 countries are calling for unrestricted access for aid deliveries and full protection for relief agencies to operate in Gaza to alleviate the catastrophic proportions of the hunger crisis on the ground.
From a central bank shindig in Wyoming to inflation data out of Japan. These are the stories to watch in business and finance in the coming week. Central bankers descend on Jackson Hole, Wyoming on Thursday. The annual conference takes place as stocks hover near record levels, and U.S. President Donald Trump continues to take shots at Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell. Economists will be listening closely to what Powell has to say. Any hint that a September rate cut isn't happening, and markets could sell off hard, while an overly upbeat tone may feed more euphoria. About 60% of global investors surveyed by Bank of America think U.S. stagflation could be the dominant global market regime within 3 months. The week's business surveys will offer more clues about whether U.S. tariffs are driving the world's largest economy towards stagflation. Societe Generale expects Fed rate cuts to inflate a stock market bubble that might not pop until at least next year. Friday's inflation data will be in focus for any sign of when the Bank of Japan's long-pledged tightening cycle will resume. The previous reading of the Core Consumer Price Index showed an annual 3.3% increase in June, remaining above the BOJ's 2% target for over 3 years. The long road towards normalization has been complicated by uncertainty over U.S. tariffs and concerns about whether Japan was seeing the right kind of price increases.
You were listening to the WINN FM 98.9 newscast. Our top stories were:
St. Kitts and Nevis contingent prepares for Carry Festa 15.
The Grange Healthcare Facility commemorates 25 years of compassionate care and community dedication. Nubian Greer on People's Action Movement's ties with diaspora. Rising prices and import rules spark debate over affordability of basic goods in St. Lucia. Venezuela condemns U.S. $50 million bounty on Maduro as terrorism disguised as judicial measures. Internationally, United Nations pollution talks. No consensus reached on binding plastic treaty. Thank you for listening.